friends, welcome back to the channel, Evergreen Organics. I just wanted to do a quick update on my Frank's Patriots. It's time for them to get oiled up. They're fully broken in, and I did a video when I first got them, unboxing them, but now that I've had them for a little bit and I have some experience with them, I want to tell you guys about them. So let's get into it. So I'm going to kind of clean these boots and talk about them a little bit at the same time. Now these Frank's Patriots, you can get them on their website in steel toe and you can get them in soft toe. They're $350. If you want the steel toes, I think you gotta order them and then you gotta wait a month or so to get them, which is not the end of the world. But I didn't want to wait. I wanted to have a pair of boots so that I could send my Nicks boots in to get them resized. And I picked up these. From the time I ordered them to the time they showed up at my door was 6 days, and they were $350. So that says a lot right there. Now, I was skeptical to say the least. My Nicks were $600. I think the Frank's Commanders are $575 or whatever it is. But these boots have really proven to be incredible. I don't know if you guys can see here. You know, they're fully broken in. We got these puppies beat in pretty good. I've been wearing them for a couple months now, and I don't know what breaks first, the boot or your foot, because these were not easy to break in, and they fit right, you know. I've had people on videos before say, oh, if they're hard to break in, that means you didn't get the right size boot, and I don't think that's the case. I called them sitting in a shoe store with a Brannick device at my feet to try to get as much information as I could so that I could make the best choice on what size to get. These are on a 55 last, they're the number 3 toe shape. I think if you get a number 4 toe shape, whatever size is your number 3 toe shape, you should go down a half size from that. I have never had a number 4 toe shape. Like, I think Nicks calls it like the sprung toe. I think it's a different last than the 55 last. But long story short, these boots are tough boots. You know, for $350, I can't imagine a better deal on a pair of work boots. I've really put these things through the ringer. The company I work for now, I do well drilling and septic systems. So I'm outside in the mud. These boots get soaking wet constantly. They are not waterproof. Heads up. Basically, there's no Pacific Northwest boot that's waterproof unless you get some sort of a liner. I think Nicks makes like a weather-resistant special leather that you can get if you get a custom order Nicks. I'm sure some of the other companies have it too. I'm just not as familiar with it. But I gotta say, the break-in on these was really tough. I'll show you guys quick what my ankles look like after breaking these boots in. So you can see here I've got a huge callus that's been built up, and I still have red marks on my ankles on both sides. I have another callus here. And I don't know if I just tightened the boots too much, too early. I didn't do any of the recommendations that they tell you for breaking them in, like spray them with the 50% alcohol water mix. I just put them on and went to work. And the result of that was a pretty rough break-in. I gotta say, other than that, once they were broken in, man, these things fit like a glove. It's pretty incredible how comfortable they are. Now, I bought a pair of Nicks Builder Pros, had them custom made, extra thick soles, all that stuff. And I just went with my regular boot size like an idiot because I didn't research it enough before I pulled the trigger on boots that had a 30-week wait period or whatever. And I didn't know my Brannick size, so I just went off my Red Wing size, and it was kind of a disaster. You know, I mean, I can wear the boots and they're great for the winter time when I have really thick wool socks on, but for the summertime when I have thin socks on, they're just too big. I was swimming in them. I had trouble finding an insole that I could put in and try to make up the gap, and the toe box got too small because I had an insole in them, and it was just, I had the wrong size boots, right? If I'm going to have $600 boots on my feet, they got to be the right size, So if you guys are thinking about buying these boots, like whether you buy them from Nicks or JK's or White's or Frank's or Wesco's or whatever it is, like call those companies up if you're confused about your boot size, because it's not your Red Wing size, it's not your Carolina size, it's not your whatever. Even if you have Iron Rangers, call those guys up, or better yet, go to a shoe store and stick your feet in a Brannick device and figure out exactly what your Brannick size is. I know they have the fit sheets you can do. I've never actually done one of those fit sheets, so I can't really speak to them. But anyways, some regrets that I have with these boots. The first really big regret that I have, and maybe actually the only regret that I have, is that I didn't get them in steel toe. This is the first pair of boots I've ever owned that weren't like, I've Iron Rangers that are my like dress boots, but this is the first pair of boots I've ever owned that wasn't steel toe. And I thought, oh, it'll be fine. You know, there's other guys that don't wear steel toe on job sites and blah, 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 blah. You know, it's like, I work around heavy stuff all day long that the slightest little thing absolutely would crush your foot. And it was kind of a mistake, you know. I was pulling out a well pump the other day, and I had, you know, a 20-foot stick of Schedule 80 PVC on the crane, and I took it off the crane and I went to go set it down on the ground, and the tip of that, it's like 1-inch diameter PVC. We're not talking huge, you know. The tip of that stick slapped me on the top of my boot. Man, I thought I broke my toe. If I had steel toes on, I would have never even noticed, you know. So for out in the woods and stuff like that, you know, if you're using these for logging or whatever and you don't want to have steel toes, and they're really great, but I wish I had gotten these in steel toe. The other thing is it was an adjustment to a soft-toed boot for me. I'm used to a steel-toe boot where when I put my toes up and down, there's space in there, you know, and it's very firm where the end of my toe sits. And with these boots, the profile is much lower. And I know in some boots you can get like a Celastic toe, but as these boots wear in, that profile gets lower and lower and lower, and I can feel the top of my boot on my toes all the time. And that took some getting used to. You know, so I think if I had to buy these boots again, I would definitely get them in steel toe. But I have kind of scoured the internet to figure out what the differences are between these boots and their $575 pair of boots, because why on earth would they only charge $350 for these and then have the exact same boot for $575, you know? So the best I can tell is that they use kind of like B-grade parts of the hide. I think someone had said something, Frank posted on Instagram about they use like part of the neck hide to make these boots. I think they also don't use the McKay lock stitch, which I think is a specific machine, I want to say. I don't know that much about it, but they don't do that lock stitch on this boot. But everything else seems pretty similar. You know, they've got the Vibram V100 lug sole on them. There's still the stacks of leather in the heel. The entire sole is made out of leather. And from what I can tell, as far as, you know, me breaking in a pair of Nicks Builder Pros versus these, it was pretty similar. They're a very comparable boot. There's a lot of upsides to that. I waited for over 6 months for my Nicks, and I got these in 6 days. If I wanted them in steel toe, I could have gotten them, you know, in a month or, you know, 6 weeks or something like that. There's a lot of upsides to these. I would definitely purchase them again. I probably won't need to for a very long time, because I have a feeling these boots are going to last for a very long time, despite the fact that I'm not very nice to them. But that's the whole point of a work boot, right? Is it's a tool, and I work it hard. So I'm going to tear these bad boys down. I'm just getting them cleaned up right now. I want to get a little bit of oil on them, keep the leather nice and supple. Now, I've watched a bunch of stuff on how people do these boots, and I've seen people have issues with the leather stack starting to separate, and I've heard that you're not supposed to oil that stack, and I didn't know that. I've always done that. I haven't had any issues with mine separating, but I think I might actually steer clear of that. The other thing too is I heard somebody on Reddit was whining about a pair of JK's boots that they bought, that they did one fire season with them or something, and the eyelets started popping out. And I have a feeling, I don't have any personal experience with JK's, but I have a feeling that the reason that those eyelets came out is because they were over oiling their boots right around the eyelets. I think it over softens the leather, and it can make this hole expand. Because I can't imagine a company like JK's that has the reputation that they have is doing something so silly as, like, you know, punching these holes out too big or whatever. You know, I think that it's got to be some issue with over oiling. You know, and I understand it. It's like you spend all this money, right? I mean, it's a pretty penny to get a pair of boots like this. You spend all this money, and, like, of course you're going to want to oil the leather and keep it conditioned. Like, the last thing you want is for these boots to last you 1 year because you never conditioned them at all, and they start cracking on the bottom. And, you know, you can't have them. At least the Patriots, they don't rebuild them. They'll resole them, but they won't rebuild them, because you could buy a brand new pair for the same price as a rebuild, which is why I think that they do that. But otherwise, all in all, this is a really, really high quality work boot. And I've worn them all. You know, I've worn Carolinas, I've worn Thorogoods, I've worn Chippewas, I've worn Red Wings. I had a bunch of different pairs of Red Wing loggers. And although these are not waterproof, like if you need a waterproof boot, a Red Wing logger is a really good boot. They've got a Gore-Tex liner in them if you're going to be standing in water all day long. It's a great boot. But if you don't need a boot that's that waterproof, this is a phenomenal option. You know, these things are made in America, unlike the Drews $350 boots, which are made in León, Mexico. So they're a Pacific Northwest style boot. They're not a Pacific Northwest boot. They're a Mexican boot. They're not made in America. They don't contribute to American jobs or American manufacturing one bit. So I think it's really cool that Frank's came out with this option. The other thing I think is that they keep the price down is that there's no customizable options with these boots. You can get them in smooth upper and smooth lower. This is the smooth upper and rough out lower. You can get them in this option. I don't think you can get the steel toes in the smooth rough out lower option. Don't quote me on that. You'll have to check their website. But that's about it. They got a couple colors, you know, so you can't change the sole thickness. These have a 3/4 inch thick sole, which is the same sole thickness as their Highlanders. That was another mistake that I made with my Nicks boots, is I got the extra thick soles like an idiot because I do so much shovel work. I was like, oh, I'm going to be kicking a shovel all day long. I better get the extra thick sole. And it's like, you can't even, like, you can't bend those things. I think it's 1 1/8 inch thick, and it's like way too thick, you know, unless you're climbing trees, you're a lineman or something like that. And then just get lineman boots, right? So the extra thick sole was not necessary. This 3/4 sole has been really nice. I've done tons of shovel work with this stuff, digging in underground plumbing and septic systems, and it's really treated me well. So I'm gonna get these oiled up and ready to go. One thing that I don't do when it comes to oiling boots, they always say that you should like wash your boots and then let them dry for a whole day and then oil them. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm a working man. I ain't got time for that. You know, I just brush the dirt off of these things, slap some oil on there. You know, I obviously take the laces and the kilties out, and I oil those up too, and then I put everything back together, and I take my ass back to work tomorrow. You know, I don't have time to spend a whole weekend dealing with washing and drying my work boots. Like, no. I'm gonna brush them off. I'm gonna oil them, and everything's gonna be just fine. You know, it's great, guys. I'm just going to show you quick what I do for the oiling process for these boots. Stump in the sunshine, huh? A little better. So now I've taken 3 days to clean and wash my boots. I'm just kidding. I'm a real man, and I ain't got time for that. What I use is Obanoff's leather oil. They also make a heavy-duty one. If you need your boots to be more waterproofed, there's a product called Snow Seal. I don't personally have any experience with it, but a lot of guys all over the forums and stuff rave about it. So basically what I'm going to do is just lather this stuff all over the boots and let it soak in, and then I'm just going to take an old rag and wipe the excess off. And I like to start with the rough out because I think it drinks up a lot more of this stuff than the top. So like I was saying before, you want to be careful around the eyelets. I don't want to get too much of this stuff on the eyelets, man. And this smooth leather on this outside just drank up everything I already put on it. But that's what I've heard, is when people have problems with the eyelets popping out, it's because they get too much leather conditioner too close to the eyelets. And I'm going to put a little on here because the stakes are a little lower with Patriots, right? Pop out an eyelet. Whatever, it's a $350 pair of boots. But boy, these are just drinking it up. I just oiled this tongue and you can't even tell. Looks like these were definitely due. I want to say I got these in June. It's the end of August now. And I think I conditioned them when I first got them. God, I can't even remember. I might not have. They say you're not supposed to condition them right away, but you know, every guy who wears work boots has their own little practice for how they do this. Yeah, you can see it's already drying away where I put this on. Really soaked into the rough out though, that's good. I wanted that. Oh, that is one other difference between these and the other boots. They have no heel loop for pulling your boot on, which I never use the heel loop on a boot anyways, so didn't make a difference to me whether it was there. There's one more thing to catch your pants on, I guess. Ooh, getting warm out here at the sunset, and boy, it was 42 degrees this morning when I woke up. But I'm right up on the Wisconsin UP border, so we're out in the sticks up here. This is the Northwoods. You know, we're not far from Canada. As a matter of fact, most people that live in Canada live south of where I live. Try to stay clear of those eyelets, or at least not over oil them. Of course, you want to get a little bit of oil there. Really just rub this stuff in. I really like this Obanoffs. Guys swear by it that have a lot more experience with Pacific Northwest boots with this really high quality leather than I do. And I have found that no matter what boot you wear, if you wear Red Wings or Thorogoods, #1 boot killer, hands down, is not conditioning your boots. You know, leather can only stand up for so long. It doesn't matter how good the leather is, how thick the leather is. You know, it's like, it comes from a living organism, and in a lot of ways it's a living organism itself still as leather. You know, it needs moisture. We got a boot done. Look at that. I drank everything up. Probably could even go over these again. They really needed it. Bit of a difference, right? It's nice. Really like this Obanoffs. I don't know what the hell's in it, but seems to work. Maybe you guys know what's in it. What's in Obanoffs? You want to tell me in the comments? Obanoffs. Let me know. What do you guys do for work too? You know, it's funny, I made this channel to talk about organic farming, and all the videos that people actually want to watch are about like boots and chainsaws, which I mean, I love that stuff too, don't get me wrong. That's why I make videos on it, but I didn't really think that that would be the part of my channel that would actually draw people in and take off. I mean, I guess, you know, you never really know, but I do have some cool, exciting stuff coming up with that. I just built out a 462. I got some 3-point dogs I want to throw on there, and then I think I want to do a porting video, show you guys my amateur hour little process for how I port. But yeah, definitely, you know, that's one of the nice things about buying an expensive pair of work boots, is it kind of forces you to take an interest in boot care. You're like, man, I dropped $600 on these boots, you know, not the Patriots, but if you got Commanders or something, and I think if you buy the Patriots from Frank's and you say, hey, you know, this is a hell of a boot, I really like it, I think you should really consider buying another pair from them that's not a Patriot. Because I have a feeling that even though they have a very like streamlined process at this point for these boots, I can't imagine they're making any money on them. There's no way, you know. I was just on the Reddit page for Filson, where somebody was talking to one of the owners of Filson and asking him why they're exporting all of their, you know, products that they used to make in the U.S. And they said that they can't make them in America anymore, blah, 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 blah. It's just too difficult. And it's like, no, you can't make them in America and make the insane profit that you want to make off of them, you know. That's, you know, the infrastructure is still here to make that stuff in America. But all those companies are doing that. Pendleton now, you go on the Pendleton website and it's like everything's imported. Everything's imported. You know, it's like, what's going on here? Like, those of us that are going to spend that kind of money on that stuff, we care about where it's made. That's why we are the customer of that company anyways. That's why I don't buy Carhartt. You know, if I didn't care about where something was made and I just wanted something that was cheap and I didn't care if it was made in a sweatshop in, you know, Bangladesh or whatever, then I would just buy Carhartt. But it sucks because those Filson double tin pants, those logging pants, which are the best logging pant ever made, you can't get them made in America anymore. And there's no other company that makes like that style of wax canvas pant. Now, Red Clouds Collective has they make waxed canvas pants and they're really phenomenal, right? But they're a Portland, Oregon company, and they're like, You know, those pants are made for like dudes that are cafe racers. It's like they're like hipster, like biker pants. You know what I mean? They're not for logging. They don't have enough room in them for you to actually work. They're like skinny jeans, but they're waxed canvas. It's kind of strange. So I really like them. I have a pair of them, but I'm kind of a thick, beefy dude. I got some muscle on me, and I can barely squeeze my thighs into those into those pants, which I have for my waist. I have large thighs from weightlifting, but still, I shouldn't be able to barely pour myself into those things. They should have a little more oomph to them. But yeah, these are coming along. I'll do my laces and my kilties, and I'm still deciding on whether I should switch which kilties on which boot. I was having a little bit of issue. I showed you the little B-roll of my ankle. I've got a nasty callus on my ankle from a hot spot I had on these boots, and there wasn't much I could do about it, and I'm just stubborn, so I just rolled with it. And I dealt with the pain, and I dealt with the blistering, and just worked through it. And now I have a massive callus on my ankle, so I'm hoping that will maybe be helped out a little bit by conditioning this leather to soften it up a little bit again, especially on the tongue right here, because that's where it is right in here. And then also I'm wondering if I switch the kiltie, if maybe they'll wear a little bit differently, like if the memory of the tongue, like the crease, was a little screwed up, which I still do, like, how you're supposed to do it, where you fold it in here, across the side like that. Instead of just crumple these things, you actually fold the tongue over like this before you lace them. But I don't know. Now, my Nicks were too big, which they weren't unwearable too big, but they were too big, and the break-in was easier. And I think maybe it was easier because it was too big, and it was winter time. I was wearing thick wool socks with them. Definitely the break-in was easier. I think we're about there. Beautiful, beautiful boot. Highly recommend. $350. How are you supposed to beat that? Everything on this boot is leather. It's leather and Vibram sole and brass. It's the only thing that's here. I don't even think they use cork or anything in it. Phenomenal boots. 2 fresh, nicely conditioned boots. Gotta get a little dirt off of that kiltie. It was weird too, like usually when you have these kilties, like as they wear, the little frilly tips on there curl out. And on these kilties, for whatever reason, they curled in, which I've never had that happen before. Not a big deal, but kind of looks a little goofy. But whatever. I ain't wearing them for fashion. Wearing them because there's some nasty, tough, rugged boots. I appreciate those of you guys that are sticking along in this video too. I'm just a regular guy trying to put out a few YouTube videos, some stuff that I think would interest other people. I appreciate those of you that are coming along for the ride. This channel has grown tremendously. It's far exceeded the expectations of anything I ever had for it. I think I got 3,200 subscribers right now. I never ever thought that would happen. I just have to keep finding time to make content. I've got a full-time job and a family, and got a little farm out here. A lot of stuff's going on, and sometimes it's hard for me to tell my wife, hey, you want to hold on to our screaming child so I can go make a YouTube video real quick. Those of you that are husbands out there, you'll understand that, right? That's not a way to get a happy wife. So, kilties. For the laces, I don't go crazy with the laces. I'll just get a little bit of something, maybe put it in the cap here. Just do it with my fingers. My hands are already so soaked in Ovenovs. I don't do anything crazy with them. Some people like dip them in the oil. To me, it's just like, if the leather and the laces breaks, then I'll just call Frank's and spend $6 and have them ship me a new pair of laces. It's like the laces aren't a big deal to me. I did want to ask you guys too, if you want to throw it down in the comments. So the way I tie my boots is I lace them all the way up, and then I do, what do you call it, a half hitch? I don't know. And then I go around the back of my boots, and then I just tie them in a regular like shoe knot on the front. And I know like Buck and Billy Ray has this like fancy loggers knot nonsense that nobody's got time for. Cool dude. but I don't have time to be tying my boots like that in the morning. Nor do I have the like oversized eyelets that are required to put your laces twice through an eyelet. So I don't do it that way. I mean, I can count on one hand the amount of times my boots have ever come undone out in the field, especially if you double tie the knot after you go around the back of the boot. But definitely if you don't go around the back of your boot and you go through the eyelet, I mean, it seems like after these laces break in, they're probably longer than what you need. I don't know if you guys cut them off or not. There you go. I'll slap some B-roll up real quick of these boots once they're waxed, or not waxed, but once they're conditioned and ready to roll, and then that'll be that. So thanks for taking the time to watch this video. If you enjoyed this content, please consider subscribing, give the video a like, hit the notifications bell, all that good stuff, blah, 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 blah. I really appreciate you guys checking out my little channel, and we'll catch you on the next one.